morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to be here this morning to share with you a journey that I have undertaken over the last 5 years. This is the process of the Chartered Governance Institute transforming its international qualification and quality assurance processes so as to enhance its program and achieve excellence. So this morning, I would like to cover 5 major topics. First of all, I'll give you a brief description of the Chartered Governance Institute. And then I will tell you how the global and the divisional structure of governance is being implemented. Then I will share with you the development and transformation of our international qualification. This is the work that we did over the past 5 years, and how we assure that quality is maintained. And from there, we hope we go from this enhancement to excellence. Now, HKCAAVQ celebrates our 30th anniversary this year. Let me tell you a little bit about the history of the Chartered Governance Institute. The Chartered Governance Institute was formerly called the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators. It was founded in 1891, so it's 129 years old today. We changed our name from the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators to the Chartered Governance Institute last year. When it was first incorporated, it received the Royal Charter in 1902. This was granted by the Queen via the Privy Council, and this is the only chartered institute in the world. At the time, we can see that the objective of the institute is still very pertinent today. It is for the promotion and advancement of secretarieship and leadership in the effective governance and effective administration of commerce, industry, and public affairs. It also has the keyword continued development of the study and practice of governance and administration of companies and other bodies. Now, what are these other bodies? These could be non-government organizations, non-profit organizations, educational institutes, professional institutes, charities, and now we're actually even branching out to religious organizations and sports institutes. The CGI is a global institute. So let's take a look at its footprint. CGI comprises 9 divisions. For a country to be able to form a division, it has to fulfill certain criteria, including having generally at least 1,000 members. So let's look at these 9 divisions: Canada, United Kingdom, Zimbabwe, Southern Africa, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Australia, and New Zealand. And in addition to the 9 divisions, there are 80 additional countries. And all these additional countries which cannot form one division, they are being looked after by the United Kingdom. So actually the United Kingdom division is called the UKRIAK, U-K-R-I-A-K, United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland and associated territories. Now let's look at the membership. Now this is the statistics from the end of 2019. The Institute hosts council meetings twice a year. Our last council meeting was held in April, so these are the most updated figures we have, is as of December 2019. We can see that the total membership is a little less than 30,000, and Hong Kong actually comprises 6,300 plus members, and that's about 20% of the total population. But more importantly, let's look at the studentship. The global studentship is a little over 11,000, but Hong Kong comprises 3,000, about 500, 31%. What does that tell us? Membership is important, but having a growing studentship is even more important. Hong Kong is number 2 in the entire CGI divisions. UK is the largest. It has about 9,000 members. Hong Kong is number 2, and Australia follows very closely thereafter. Now, how does one become a member of CGI? This is the route to membership. First of all, you have to be a university graduate. In Hong Kong, our university graduate is assessed at level 6, but in the UK is level 7. Now, there are 2 ways of becoming a member. You have to either go through the Institute's qualifying examination or go through a Master of Corporate Governance collaborative course. Now, how do these differ? The CGI examination is a public examination administered by CGI. The Master of Corporate Governance program is administered by individual universities. In Hong Kong, we have 4 universities that we collaborate with, the City University, Polytechnic University, Open University, and Baptist. For the Master of Corporate Governance course, if you work full-time, it will take you about 1.5 years, and part-time 3 years. So let's look at the left side of the qualification scheme. You can study and take the examinations and pass the examinations. But as to how long it would take you, we cannot tell. Most of our students who are university graduates would be having a full-time job. So they have to be studying during their free time. The examinations are not easy to pass, I assure you. So this is the academic process. Then we move on. So after you have passed all the exams or graduated from an MCG program, we pass on to the professional process. When you finish your exam, you are called a graduate. And then you start to count the years. And you can count the years from the first day you start working as a chartered governance professional. So it normally takes about 3 to 6 years, but you have to have relevant working experience. So after you have passed the exam, if all the 3 years you have been working full-time on governance work, you could become a graduate pretty soon. Then you achieve your associate status. And if you want to go further, about 7 or 8 years later, then you could be a fellow. Now let's look at the structure of CGI. There is a council, and there are 14 council members. You can look at each of the divisions is represented. The representation is by the number of members the divisions have. The UK being the largest, they have 3 council members. Hong Kong and Australia each has 2 council members, the rest 1 each. You can look at the very right side that says Professional Standards Committee Chair. This is a very important post. This is not a council member from representing any specific division, but this is the chairman of the PSC. The reason being PSC being so important in the entire scheme, maintaining the quality and the standards of our qualification. The International Council meets twice a year. And underneath there is an executive committee comprising 6 members, the president, there are 3 vice presidents at the moment, and 1 immediate past president, and that's me for the time being, and as well as the PSC chair, and we meet monthly. Underneath the executive committee, you can see that there are 3 important committees. On the left is the Constitutional Affairs Committee. This is like the judge that decides whether everything that's being done by the divisions, including the council itself, is according to our bylaws. On the right side, we have the Thought Leadership Committee. This committee is a relatively new committee. It was set up at the end of 2017, and I was the first chair. Thought leadership is very important in an institute like ours. And we produce about 4 or 5 papers a year. And I'm very glad to report that in 2018, one of our most important papers was a video on the hybrid AGM. Little did we know, this year, all our companies are holding hybrid AGMs, or even virtual ones. The Thought Leadership Committee comprises 8 members, generally 1 member from each of the divisions, and is a very interesting committee because of the diversification of the jurisdictions. We have Canada member having to get up at 6 o'clock, and the latest one is down in New Zealand at 11 p.m. And we try to be very efficient. We try to stick to 1-hour meeting. The middle committee is called the Professional Standards Committee, and is obviously a very important committee, as I have just told you. Now let's look at the PSC more closely. The composition of the PSC is academics and professionals. So these are the practitioners. And the work of the committee is to set qualification program, review and assess the standards, as well as grant accreditation status. The job of the PSC is to ensure that the quality of the institute, of the profession, is maintained. So we've just covered the global setup. Now let's look at the divisional setup, and I will use Hong Kong as an example, and I would say that the other divisions would be more or less similar. The Hong Kong Council comprises a number of committees, and you can see that on the far right side is the Education Committee. That's where the qualifying program is being looked after. Now let's see how we deal with quality assurance. The Council comprises 15 members with an Education Committee of 13 members. Underneath the Education Committee, there are 3 panels. 1, academic advisory, 2, assessment review, and 3, qualification development. The academic advisory panel would look at the qualification in general and provide general advice. Assessment review panel would look at the examinations in detail, even the marking system and the papers. And the qualification development panel is for enhancement. Now let's look at the profile and skill set of the quality assurance team. Education Committee, 13 members. You can see there is a combination of academics and professionals. Their skill sets would cover corporate governance, company secretarial and compliance, legal, accounting and finance, as well as management or risk management. The academic advisory panel with 13 members, these are all from universities. They're all academics. The assessment review panel comprises 12 members, also a combination of skill set and profile, as well as the qualification development panel with 9 members. So now I'm going to take you to the real thing, is the journey we went through changing our qualification. From 1902 to 2018, our qualification was called the Chartered Secretary qualification. And this is an internationally recognized qualification portable between all the member jurisdictions within the institute. In year 2000, we decided to take a deep look inside. And then we came up with the International Qualifying Scheme, the IQS. Then we ensured that our program was fit for purpose. In year 2014, we conducted a global review after about 15 years. And during this period, from 2015 to 2017, we hired a consultant. This is Dr. Jenny Rees from the Edinburgh University. And the 9 divisions would collaborate with the Education Committee chair as well as their chief executives. And then the PSC, the committee itself, at the international level, as well as the International Council. So we took a look at the practice of chartered secretaries and discovered that actually our practice has moved from pure chartered secretaryship to governance-centric model. And a lot of our members were dealing with compliance work as well. So it took us 2 years to take a very detailed study of our program. And in 2017, we came up with the International Qualifying Scheme overhaul. And now we have the Chartered Governance Qualifying Program. During our AGM in 2017, which was held towards the end of the year, our members approved the new program as well as the change in the bylaws, because our program is written inside the bylaws. Then we went to the Privy Council and sought approval. And after we received the approval sometime in 2018, we launched the CGQP, the Chartered Governance Qualifying Program. Now, what does the CGQP comprise? There are 2 qualifications. 1, chartered secretaries. 2, chartered governance professionals. You can be one or the other, or you can be both. Let's look at the course contents. In year 2000, when we had the IQS, there were 8 modules, so 8 papers to take, part 1 and part 2. Generally, our students would finish part 1 before they go on to part 2. When we revamped our qualification program in 2018, we came up with 2 different designations. The basic 4 papers are more or less the same: applied governance, corporate law, finance for decision making, and risk and compliance. But if you choose to be a chartered secretary, then you go on to take company secretarial practice and development of strategy. And if you want to be a chartered governance professional, then you take enterprise risk management and advanced governance, or the development of strategy. And more modules are being incorporated. We're now even looking at governance for NGOs, for charities, etc. Now let's look at Hong Kong. What have we decided to do? We have decided we didn't want the chartered secretary or the chartered governance professional qualification. We're very greedy, we wanted both. So we combined the both. Instead of having 6 modules each, we ended up requiring our students to take 7 modules. And look at the ones on the top 3: risk management, strategic management, boardroom dynamics, or Hong Kong taxation. And after Hong Kong has decided to combine the 2 designations, actually the UK, Singapore, Malaysia, as well as Canada followed suit. So out of the 9 divisions, there are now 6 divisions that are offering dual qualifications. Now, how do we assess the quality of our program? Let's look at our quality assurance structure. In this chart, you have to look at the International Council, you have to look at PSC, the Divisional Committee and Council, as well as the individual education committees. This is a delegation down to do the hard work and then reporting up or across. So the International Council would delegate the Divisional Council and Committee to look after their own assurance. And then that Divisional Council or Committee would engage the Education Committee to do the work. When the work is done, they report up to the divisional committee, which has to report to International Council as well as across to the PSC. And the PSC would therefore provide accreditation and oversight of what the divisions are doing. PSC also reports to the International Council. So, what does PSC do? PSC establishes and delivers structure, syllabus, assessment standards of the qualifying programs. It also sets up the framework for assessing professional standing and competence. It would assess fit and proper person for election to be members. It enforces standards of professional conduct and ethics. It maintains assurance framework and criteria for the maintenance of the standard, together with external review from time to time. And it also sustains continuing professional development. So after this overhaul of our qualifying program, what action followed? During the period of 2018 to 2019, all the divisions were busy upgrading their assurance framework. There might be local variants. For example, the taxation or the law in Hong Kong might be different from that in Southern Africa. So we have to be writing our own syllabus. We also, during this period, have to come to the PSC to seek accreditation. The PSC normally accredits 2 to 5 years, depending on their assessment of the division. And during 2019, Australia secured its accreditation. 2019, UCREAT. 2020, China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Singapore as well. And before the expiry of the accreditation, the divisions would have to go to PSC to seek for further extension. And of course, their program would be reviewed again. And if there are changes to the program, the permission from PSC would be required, such as exempting candidates from subject examinations. Normally, 4 subjects would be the maximum. This would be those that have taken in Hong Kong a Bachelor of Governance program within one of our accredited universities. The others are normally getting 3 subjects exemption. These would be accountants, lawyers, or business administration graduates. And if we need to vary an approved qualifying program, we have to go back to PSC. And if we need to be collaborating with new academic institutions. The Hong Kong Institute of Chartered Secretary did a survey late 2019, and we found that the company secretary is central to the implementation of governance in fulfilling compliance obligations, and corporate governance requirements are expected to increase substantially in the days to come. And this is for your reading when you have time. And in Hong Kong and in China, you can also see that the people surveyed all had the impression or the conviction that there will be increasing demand on governance requirements. In addition to that, we all require our members to have 15 hours of CPD a year. The Thought Leadership Committee continue to churn out thought leadership papers, and we have created an e-community platform at which we debate on governance-related topics and practices. And currently, we're looking at online examination, and we also have created an internship exchange program amongst the divisions. Last year, we had a student that came from the UK to come to work in Hong Kong. Although he came during the period, it's actually last year. He came during a period when there was social unrest, but he actually learned a lot out of the experience. Now, just a recap. After 2018, when we have set out our new qualifying scheme and changed our name to the Chartered Governance Institute in 2019. Additional 6 divisions also changed their name to something along the lines of the Chartered Governance Institute. These include Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the UK, Malaysia, and Southern Africa. Now CGI is the worldwide qualifying body for governance professionals, comprising 2 designations, Chartered Secretaries and Chartered Governance Professionals. And this is a global governance institute, and we will continue to develop the skills, knowledge, and experience in governance. We will continue to maintain our stringent qualifying program and requirements, and our qualification is internationally portable. Now it remains for Hong Kong, China to change its name. This process has been a little bit hindered because of not only the social unrest, but also the COVID-19 saga. But we will be getting to it very shortly. That completes my presentation. Thank you very much.